Certainly there are times when things don't go well, and then that's quite dispiriting for sure. And so then it's difficult to proceed with the same level of enthusiasm. But I do think the things that we're doing are pretty important to the future. And if we don't succeed, then it's not clear what other things would succeed. And if we don't succeed, then we will be certainly pointed to as a reason why people shouldn't even try for these things. Making life multiplanetary, achieving sustainable production and consumption of energy. Obviously, the internet as a whole. I mean, the continued growth of the internet. And then potentially, if we do this, reprogramming human genetics, and the fifth one would be artificial intelligence.
I think it's also important to reason from first principles rather than by analogy. So the normal way that we conduct our lives is we reason by analogy. We're doing this because it's like something else that was done, or it's like what other people are doing.
Me Too type ideas.
Yeah,
Slight
iterations
yeah.
on a theme, and it's kind of mentally easier to reason by analogy rather than from first principles. But by first principles is kind of a physics way of looking at the world, and what that really means is you kind of boil things down to the most fundamental truths, and say, okay, what are we sure is true, or as sure as possible is true, and then reason up from there.
I think the lens of history is a helpful way to distinguish more from less important things. And the further out you zoom, the more you can distinguish the less important from the more important. And if you take a look at the whole 4 billion year history of Earth and the evolution of life itself, and say, well, what are the really big milestones in the evolution of life itself? And you can point to, obviously, single-celled life and multicellular life, differentiation into plants and animals, movement of life from the oceans to land, the mammal. With Tesla, we had multiple near-death experiences. Again, what are the odds of a car company succeeding? I think pretty darn low. And in fact, at Tesla, we came within a few days of being bankrupt. And we closed the financing round at the end of 2008 on the last hour of the last day that it was possible to do that, which was basically 6 p.m. Christmas Eve 2008. And we would have gone bankrupt a few days after Christmas. So, these are real close calls, I'd say.